time to look back. 25 years ago to the day, ABC television began in South Australia. We're commemorating the anniversary with a nostalgic look at the way things were. Richard Lower prepared this report with the help of Keith Burks, our self-appointed archivist.
Adelaide was tuned and ready as March the 11th, 1960 finally arrived.
The official opening of ABS Channel 2 may be seen in 30 seconds from now.
Good evening. This is the ABC beginning transmission of its national television service in South Australia through ABS Channel 2. Tonight it's my pleasure to be associated with the opening ceremony of this, the fourth ABC television service in Australia. Well, now it's time for the news. You're watching ABC Television, ABS Channel 2. The time is 23 minutes past 7.
ABS Channel 2, the ABC's fourth television station, was officially opened in Adelaide tonight by the Postmaster General, Mr. Davidson. The station's studios and administrative offices are at Collinswood, only 3 miles from the heart of Adelaide. The studio building has a mast 180 feet high. Facial makeup is applied to everyone before they appear in front of television cameras. Mrs. Leggett is in charge of the makeup section, and in the newsroom, journalists prepare the television news bulletins. The studio cameras transform the picture they see into electronic signals, which are carried by cables on the first stage of transmission to your set. From this tower above the Collinswood studios, a microwave link sends the signals to the main transmission tower at Mount Lofty. The tower, 440 feet high, then sends the pictures to you.
Well, the weather today has been cool here in the southern part of the state. It has been warm up in the interior. We'll give you a few figures in a moment. Perhaps the most important news for everyone interested in the weather this weekend and tomorrow especially is, of course, the opening of the Arts Festival in Pantry, the Weather Bureau.
The weather forecast was brought to you by Peter Dell. And now we're going to join Sergeant Bilko for the Phil Silvers Show. All too soon, our first night on the air was over. Publicity placed ABC TV before an eager Adelaide audience as a vital part of our way of life in those days. And if you didn't receive a copy of TV Times or a newspaper, our First Lady of Presentation, Kay Withers, kept us informed each night, right after the news and weather.
Take her to dance, take her to tea.
Things I do for producers. This is to draw your attention to the fact, if you haven't already realised it from the TV Times, that a handful of songs is on tonight at 8 o'clock. And in a handful of songs tonight, we have quite a lot of numbers from the roaring 20s. There'll be a soft shoe shuffle with Wally Carr and Josie, and also some numbers from The Boyfriend and The Girlfriend. And for those of you who aren't so keen on the sheiks and flappers of the roaring 20s as we are, there'll be some songs from other eras too. And the cast, Josie Crease, Wally Carr, Roy Wooding, Doreen Govett and Eric George and his trio provide the musical backing. Don't miss it, will you? Tonight at 8 o'clock, a handful of songs. Well, now it's time for the first program in our evening lineup. This is ABC Television from Channel 2 in Adelaide. Beep, 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 beep.
Further publicity brochures kept the public in contact with a vibrant network able to provide variety programs to satisfy the ever-hungry TV audience. Who could ever forget those golden oldies? Or those incredible time fillers, the interludes such as Baby in the Bath. 1 quarter century of electronic images have flown with the speed of light from these studios and its associated transmitter. Whether they've been received or not is another matter, and whether they have made an impact on our society for good or evil can be a point for debate. But in closing this momentous time of looking back, we're not going to think of our failures, but rather let's recall the fun times as the good old days live again.
Oh!
The girl from Granny's. I'm the man from Auntie. Get it?
Got it?
Good.
Oh, this is very embarrassing.
First. You all right, cameraman?
Mr. Hartley talks now in Melbourne to Paul Barber.
Much of a save-green movement is there amongst the federal executive of the Australian Labor Party?
I would express a view.
What are you actually doing here?
Well, I'm watering the flaming lawn, aren't I?
Mr. McCurcher, I think we've got our copies out of line here.
These investments are much too high, because the sun was not more there, but these investments are much too high in this
Firm of the Society for the Conservation of Water in Divide End.
Open the mic.
The most permanent way, of course, of developing a garden or a rock pool in your garden is to have it well constructed in concrete. Doesn't crack, won't move, and it's there forever and a...
Good evening. Here's the news in briefs.
A good, solid Port Lincoln home, overlooking the bay. Last year's rates were $200. This year, they are $818. Just round the corner, the owner of this house is comparatively lucky.
And that's all we have in this edition of National News. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with another bulletin of local and overseas news, followed as usual by Weekend Magazine.
Richard Lowe, looking back some of the less publicised events in the past 25 years through the eyes of the first presenter of ABC Television in South Australia, Bob Caldicott. I must confess I can think of a few not terribly well publicised events myself.